All right, making gumbo. So the first thing let's talk through is the roux. I'm going to use about a tablespoon of butter. That in the container is, I'm going to use a tablespoon of bacon grease, a little bit of olive oil, about a tablespoon of that as well. What I don't have on the screen is peanut oil. I'm going to use about a fourth of a cup of peanut oil and flour. The chicken bouillon will be for the broth a little bit later. That'll be added for the roux. Now let's add these ingredients in the skillet. Get this roux together. Step 1. Grease, oils, butter, peanut oil, whatever you choose, and prepare your roux. We will have several layers of coloring to go through with this flour that is now cooking. Alright, we can see that the color is starting to change. We're going to cook this until it's the color of a nice milk chocolate. So, a little more to go. You have to stir this continuously. You cannot walk away from this. You have to keep your eye on it because it is cooking on medium high and it can burn quickly if you're not paying attention, if you're not consistently stirring. More to come. Alright, we've got a nice brown, almost there. Again, we want to get the color to a chocolate, milk chocolate. So still a little more to go. You can see the consistency of it. It's going to be beautiful. And again, this is just the oils. For me, I put a little bit of bacon grease, about a tablespoon of bacon grease. But it is your oil that you normally cook with, be it canola, peanuts, olive, and regular vegetable oil. Any of those will work. And it is about a quarter of a cup of oil. I put a teaspoon of bacon grease just to give it a little smoky flavor. Add to it. And then flour. And this is about a cup and a half of flour. And I'm using a cast iron pot. First, it helps with flavor as well. And it browns better to me inside of a cast iron skillet. Gets it more even. Alright, I am happy with the color. It'll brown a little more. But now we are actually going to put in our chopped and prepped seasoning. It's going to fry a little, so don't let that scare you. There we go. This is celery and bell pepper. And I use a red bell pepper. I actually like a little bit of color in my food. Makes it a little more festive for the holidays. Yes, my hands are clean, by the way. And we stir. It's going to get pasty and clumpy. Don't worry about that. It's supposed to. Give these a toss. Cook them down a little. And shortly, we're going to move this into a nice sized pot, which if you're from Louisiana, you affectionately call your gumbo pot. It's a nice size pot, and it depends on how many ingredients you're cooking as well. But we're going to move our sauteed seasoning and our roux mix into that pot, and then we're going to add some chicken broth is what I normally use. I like to use anything other than just water because it gives it more flavor. So if you've got some broth, put broth in. If you choose, you can use water. But we're going to put this into this pot. I'm going to warm that pot and get it going. I'm going to move this over. And we're going to add water. Alright. Alright, first thing I'm doing is bringing my chicken broth to a rolling boil, and then I'll start adding in my roux, which I've turned off, by the way, so it doesn't get any more color. But again, look at the beautiful color. It is the color of chocolate, and you can tell from the spoon. A good milk chocolate. And I'm going to move this over into this once it is at a good rolling boil. Alright, by the way, just in case I didn't say earlier, I've got all of, I have all of my ingredients prepped and ready to go. In this particular gumbo that I'm doing, I'm not doing a lot of ingredients. This is simple for me because I usually put a bunch more in. So this is chicken gizzards, giblets, whatever you like to call them. But I have pre-boiled these, and I boil them so that I can give it a little bit of Cajun kick. I had boiled them in crab oil and salt already. So these are already cooked and super tender. And then I dice them up, by the way. I like everything pretty much in an easy bite-size quantity or amount so that you can get a spoonful of everything. I have smoked sausage that I've already fried off, and I use the drippings from the smoked sausage while I was making the roux as well, by the way. And this is some chicken drumettes, which I've already baked off. So they are cooked and browned on the outside already. Some snow crabs. Normally, if you're from Louisiana, you use blue crab. And I am from Louisiana, by the way. But blue crabs are not found as easily outside of Louisiana all the time. I am in Texas, and what is plentiful and what we eat a lot of is snow crabs. So I'm using snow crab, which, by the way, this makes for a lot of fun to eat when you're having your gumbo. Blue crab, you can't get to the meat as much. It's a little bit painful. This is easy, and once it sits inside the gumbo, it is amazing. And then I've got my shrimp already done, deveined, and ready to roll. All right, we've got our broth going. It is boiling, and as you can tell, it's nice and hot. I'm going to reduce my heat. By the way, I'm cooking this on, I started the boil on high just to get it going. And now I'm going to reduce this to a medium heat. And let's start adding the roux. Actually, let me get a better utensil. Alright. So I don't want to lose any of it. I want everything off of the bottom. I'm going to add a little. I'm going to stir along the way. And by the way, this spatula that I have is good for up to 650 degrees. It's one of my favorite cooking utensils, so you don't scrape up your pots. The brand, I'm hoping that it's clear enough. It's Dioro. And again, they're good for up to 650 degrees. And no, I don't work for Dioro. I don't even know where the company's based. All I know is this is a awesome spatula. Again, I'm going to clean all of my beautiful roux out of this cast iron skillet.
You do touch yourself. You are loved. You can touch yourself. Anything about him is a pleasure. Especially your legs. When you understand, particularly enjoy it. You carry on with that. Until the field grows, and eventually you reach.
And if anybody's wondering what's playing in the background, sorry, it's probably loud. I'm watching Bridgerton, and I suggest everybody do the same. It's an awesome series. It's on Netflix. All right. Let that get a little thick. Now, in New Orleans, which is where I'm from, a lot of people's gumbo is more loose. It is not super thick. That is not a traditional gumbo for anybody that I know, and anybody that is from home. It's not often that you'll find us with thick gumbos. It is more like a soup, so it's a little bit loose. But this will thicken along the way because, of course, our base is flour for the roux. So give that a minute. Let those vegetables cook some more as well. Let them get tender. In my vegetables, I use celery and bell pepper. A lot of people use onion as well, which would be the Cajun Trinity. I don't care for onions. Sometimes they overpower, and if I do, I use a little bit, a very small amount. And I like color, so my bell pepper happened to be a red bell pepper. So that's, if you're wondering what the red stuff is, that's for me. Most people use green. I just like a little color. It's a little festive. So bell pepper and celery, and I used about five stalks of celery, and that is 2 cut up bell peppers, diced up bell peppers. Okay, so you see I'm back to a rolling boil. My roux has been added to my chicken broth. I'm sorry, it's a lot of steam. And hopefully that's a better angle for you. Good. So the next thing that I'm going to do, and that you should do, is you add your ingredient that you know is going to take the longest amount of time to cook, so that it can actually start cooking down in here and then releasing some of its flavor. For me, again, I've already cooked my chicken gizzards, but I'm actually going to cook them first and add them first to the broth, because I want them to get even more tender. So I start with them and I let them cook down, and I let them cook down while my vegetables are still cooking down as well, because I will know when I am good when my celery starts to get a little more translucent. So started with my gizzards. And why do I use gizzards? Because some people don't. It's a really rich flavor. Anybody that likes pâtés and whatever, you're eating all of that stuff, because that's what's usually ground up to make fancy stuff. But it's a really rich taste that it adds. And if you like Popeye's Cajun rice, believe it or not, that's one of the main ingredients that they use. They put it in a food processor. They cook giblets or gizzards and chicken livers, and they process it, put it in a food processor. So I'm not using chicken livers, I'm just using chicken gizzards for this one. And again, I want them to get so tender that they fall apart, and it's like velvet when you chew through it. And it's a really rich flavor. More to come. I'll also add, like I said, I normally have other ingredients. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for. If you're cooking with turkey necks, smoked turkey necks or raw uncooked turkey necks, that would be my first thing to put in the pot. And I'd probably let them cook for about an hour. And I like to cook mine in the roux, so that it can actually get the flavor from the roux. And by the way, I haven't added any salt and pepper yet. The stock was salted a little, so I don't add anything, because a lot of the foods that you use have natural sodium in them. So I actually season to taste at the end, later on. I like to get the flavors inside the meats, like the smoked sausage, which is pre-salted, of course. All of that kind of stuff has some sodium in it. And again, I boiled the chicken gizzards in salt and crab oil, so there's a little bit of salt in that. So I'm not going to add any additional salt to this until the very end, and I get it to the taste that I want it. But I like everything else to be released into the broth while everything is cooking. So make sure that you do add your longest cooking item now, and then everything else is going to cook quickly. As I mentioned, and you get a shot of my pajamas, As I mentioned, everything that I'm cooking with today cooks pretty quickly, and then this is already pre-cooked. So these have been fried off. I'm going to put them in next so they can release some more of the flavors, because right now I've just seared them because they're a little browned on, some of them, a little bit browned to sear them. But I wanted to start releasing the salts and flavors into the broth. Then I'm going to add my chicken. And then I'm going to add the snow crab. The shrimp is the last thing that I put in so it doesn't cook apart, because shrimp cook within a couple of minutes. The minute it hits the hot broth, it will be done. So again, I've already put my gizzards in. I'm going to do my smoked sausage that's already been seared and fried off, my chicken, then my snow crab, and these will take about 10 to 15 minutes to cook all the way through, and then my shrimp. And then I'm going to turn the pot on low and let everything blend, get all of the flavors to blend together. And then I will turn it off, and then I will just let it sit. Gumbo, the best thing about it, the more it sits, the better it gets. Need to put that on a t-shirt. But the flavors they come together better once it actually starts to just sit in the pot and all collect together. So next step coming. All right, let's move on to the next step. I'm going to start with, as I mentioned previously, my smoked sausage.
You know, Cover Schweitzer was scribbling in that diary of yours, and selling everyone else's business, more payments than anyone else I know in London. You have my course of information.
And the juice that you'll see is some of the juice from the meat, and it's also the broth that is now gelled a little bit because I cooked these earlier from the chicken. So don't think that I'm putting plastic into the pot in case that's what you thought it was. And I can show you. See, it's just the gel from where the chicken cooked in this pan, which will help with flavor. So we definitely want, it's nothing more than stock. So we definitely want that added to the pot. I'm hoping I'm explaining this easy enough. And I'm doing this for a friend of mine who wanted to learn how to cook gumbo. And I guess I may post it on Instagram, on my Instagram page. Just so it'll be out there in case anybody else wants it or cares. Any of my friends. Because I always get asked to make gumbo. Now you can make it yourself. So, I almost got all of my smoked sausage, and I may cut up some more and add some more. It just depends on if I feel like there's enough meat in the pot, because nothing is worse than having all broth and no meat. But this was only supposed to be a small pot. A small pot. A small pot. This is nothing like a small pot, by the way. But for me, this is a small pot. Normally, this would almost be filled to the top. And by the end, it may actually be that much once everything gets added. So we'll see. Oh, another tip for you, in case you are the person that likes a thick roux, it's fun to have a pre-mixed roux as a thickening agent. There's nothing like a scratch roux, the taste of it. But you can use something like this. This is Tony Chachere's. And no, it's not Chacheria's. For everybody that mispronounces it, it is Tony Chachere, or Tony Chachere. But you can use this as a thickening agent to get it to the thickness that you want. Or Zatarain's makes a roux, which is really good as well. I'm just out of it right now. And this is just a little small can. And I may use it as a thickening agent. But I always start my roux from scratch. Old school cooks will tell you, and what my mom used to do was, old school thickener is a little bit, maybe a couple of tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour with about a half a cup or a fourth of a cup of water, and add it as needed until it thickens to the thickness that you want it. And it's the same thing with gravy as well. It's no different. The darker the roux, the more rich the flavor as well. So if you're wondering why, because some people have what we like to call light skin roux. I don't want a roux to color my skin. That's not dark enough. If it gets to that chocolatey complexion, the richness of the flavor of you browning the flour, you taste all of that. So it actually tastes so much better. Again, apologies for the TV in the background. I'm in the kitchen cooking, and I wanted to hear Bridgerton and watch it while I was cooking. So TV's playing in the background. All right, I'm going to add my already baked chicken wings. I definitely could have made more of these. But again, this was supposed to be a small pot. Not so much. No. Alright, as you can see, now the things that were added previously to the pot have all cooked down. We've got the chicken that has cooked down. It'll continue to cook and fall apart along the way. The vegetables, my celery and green and bell pepper, red bell pepper, have cooked down. The gizzards are almost disintegrated, which is what I love in the pot. And then the smoked sausage has released a lot of flavor to the broth. The broth is amazing. So, last two things is let's add our shrimp. And I told you I was going to do those last. And let's add the snow crab. And I'm merely going to drop them in. Again, they have been washed like hell along the way. I'm going to push those down. And this may be more crab than I need. But I'm going to add every ounce of it because there's nothing like these snow crab legs that have sat inside this broth. It's amazing. I may add more water to the pot because I definitely want all of them in here. And this is only, I got a little bit of crab meat. I'll add just the water that was on the plate that the crabs release. This is just snow crab that I've added. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add some more water to the pot, which means that I'll use my thickener as well to get it back to this consistency that I have right now. So, all right, I'm going to add a little bit of water. And that was probably about 2 cups of water that I just added. Let this come back to a nice bubble again. Get my crab legs in here. And I'm about to cover it as well so they can steam and soak. And the last thing that I will add is my shrimp. And this is 2 pounds of shrimp, deveined and cleaned. Let's cover that. The crab legs are going to take approximately 15 minutes to cook. And I've still got everything on medium heat. So, let everything cook down. Come back to a boil. And then I'll show you how to get it back to a good thickness using the instant roux. All right, my dears. By the way, I did add another package of smoked sausage. It was looking a little flimsy. All right, I told you guys I added more water. I ended up adding about 3 cups of water just to make sure that the snow crabs are covered, etc. I'm now turning down the temperature. I'm going to turn it on low. No. And now let's add our final ingredient, which is the shrimp. And I mentioned that they were going to cook really fast. And since this is super hot already, And again, I still haven't added any salt, by the way. And I have tasted it and it's amazing, by the way. So it's not like I've had to add any salt so far. Let that be your last thing that you add, just because, as I mentioned, a lot of the ingredients are pre-salted, and then the things that I cooked, I actually seasoned them beforehand, so there are salt products already in, sodium already in. So we're adding our deveined, cleaned shrimp. Some people don't devein, some people just peel their shrimp, make sure that they're clean, and drop them on in the pot, whatever floats your boat. Again, I'm OCD, so I want mine cleaned. I want mine deveined. So I devein. And even though I've turned my temperature down, notice that most of the shrimp are already starting to cook, so. I don't mind them curling. Some people don't like them to curl. They want them to be flat. I actually butterflied mine on purpose so that they would. I'm just different. You do whatever you want to do. I do the same thing to my shrimp when I fry them. I fry them butterflied. Some people don't devein as well when they fry shrimp. Come on, get in there, get in there. Get down in there. Alright. Almost done with all of the shrimp. And I'm just picking it up off my plate, by the way. Scoop at a time. And this was 2 pounds of shrimp. Or if you get them in the bags, already deveined, etc. This was 2 bags. Each bag is usually about 1 pound. So this was 2 bags. But I actually deveined these myself. They are Gulf shrimp. So the history of gumbo is you use whatever was accessible. I'm from Louisiana. I'm from New Orleans. We have seafood accessible. So most of our gumbos from home are seafood gumbos. I don't care if mine is just shrimp and sausage, or just chicken and sausage. I'm fine with any of that. Whatever your favorite ingredients are, your favorite meat products. There is no beef in most people's gumbo that I know. Other ingredients that I told you I normally add in here are turkey necks, and those take a while to cook, so that adds cook time to your gumbo. Overall, my gumbo has cooked for approximately, I'd say 40 minutes so far. And I'm gonna turn it down, let the shrimp cook, and then just put it on low just to let all of the flavors meld together and release some more. But before I finish all of that, turn it down too fast. Let me bring it to bubble again. I forgot I wanted to thicken it just a little. And show you guys my thickening technique. I told you old school thickening is usually done with thickening paste, which is just flour and water. Sorry, my timer. I'm cooking other stuff too. That's just so I wouldn't overcook it. But old school thickening paste is flour and water. I am going to use new school, and I've got some Tony Chachere's roux in a little container, and it's already the right color so that my color won't lighten. The difference between the thickening paste is flour and water will actually lighten your roux, and you want to keep your roux at this pretty milk chocolatey kind of color. This is already that same color, so it won't change your color. But I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit in, bring it to a bubble. I'm going to mix it in, let it bubble up. And the roux that's in the canister that I just showed you, the Tony Chachere's, it is brown flour already. So it is, like I said, the right color already. It won't change it. It won't lighten it. But old school cooks, like my mom when she was with us, she would use flour and water and have it on the side just in case she wanted to thicken her roux a little bit. So as soon as that comes back to a bubble, I'll see if it's thick enough to me. And again, I don't do this is super thick stew-like consistency, but it shouldn't be watery either. Right now, this is a little loose. It's not bad, but it's a little loose for me, so I just want to thicken it just a little bit. Any gumbo that you have should not be like stew. If it is, no. But it shouldn't be watery either, not like soup. Have a thickness to it. You should still have some type of thickness to it. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's already starting to thicken a little. And you want to continuously stir because this is a flour-based item, dish. So to make sure that the flour may not settle, even though it shouldn't settle. Making sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom, you need to continuously stir it up. Let's get, yeah, I think every scoop should have a variety of meats and product in it, whatever you put in your pot. That is beautiful. And now it's just time for it to sit and soak and get together, honey. I am going to thicken it just a little bit more. And this has no sodium in it, by the way. It's just brown flour. All right. There we go. See, it's back to its boil. My shrimp are in here. My shrimp are actually already cooked, but I don't want them to uber fall apart. So now I'm going to taste it. This spoon. I can see me burning my face off if I tried to eat out of my ladle. That would be tragic. My spoon. Amazing. Delicious. All right, so this will be the first time you see me do this. And I'm actually going to use the hold side because it doesn't need a lot of salt. And I'm using sea salt. And altogether, this will probably be about a tablespoon. Because it does not need a lot of salt at all. That's my final thing, ladies and gents. Some people cook it with gumbo filet. I found that when you put filet in the pot, it causes, because of the type of root that it is, or herb that it is, it tends to make your gumbo go bad. If you're going to put filet, my suggestion, put filet in your bowl. If you want filet gumbo, put it in your bowl. I don't put it in my pot. If you put it in your pot and you know that your entire pot is going to be eaten at that sitting, knock yourself out. But if you know that you're going to store this, and this is a lot for me because I am cooking a small pot of gumbo, not small at all, for myself, because there is no one else in this house but me. So I am going to store this, and it freezes well. I'm going to freeze some of it so that I can whip the gumbo out whenever I want some gumbo and have a taste for it. That's usually what most Louisiana people do. There's usually gumbo in somebody's freezer in case you ever want something real quick. But yes, so if you know that you're going to eat it all in one sitting, by all means, go ahead and add gumbo filet. If not, don't add filet to your pot if you know you're going to store it. Just my little 2 cents. It's the way my mama told me. So I'm going to share it with y'all. And it's true from what I found out just over the years of cooking. Because I ain't no spring chicken. Alright. So, fire back down to low. Now that I've added my thickener and it is in the pot. Turn it on low. And just let it simmer and bubble and get together. Thanks, guys. This is all. I'll show you my plate or bowl when I'm done. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to eat this, which may gross you out. But I'll be back shortly once it's all finished. All right, here's the last debate around gumbo. Louisianians would totally agree with this, most of. And this is what's true of my family and folks that I know, no matter if they're from Eunice, Lafayette, Opelousas, wherever in Louisiana. Potato salad or rice is what you serve your gumbo with. In New Orleans, at someone's home, if they fix gumbo, there's usually potato salad that's made, which this is my potato salad, just dressed up with some eggs on top, and I've eaten half of it already because it's delicious. And then we always keep rice. This is just rice that I cooked, and I just put it in a Ziploc bag because I usually keep rice because we have a lot of dishes with rice. So this is freshly cooked white rice or brown rice, either one, whatever floats your boat. And then potato salad. I eat my gumbo with a spoonful of potato salad in the middle of it. Sounds awful till you have it. So for those of you who are not familiar with this New Orleanian or Louisiana custom, this is also one of the things that you will see us do. There's also the debate about whether eggs go in gumbo, boiled eggs or hot dogs. I've even seen hot dogs. I don't care who you are. That is not gumbo. That does not belong in a gumbo pot. Sorry. I don't know anybody from Texas to Louisiana that make gumbo, to Mississippi to Florida. I don't know any of us that put hot dogs in a gumbo pot, but it is gumbo. It's whatever you have handy. Just not going to be in my pot ever. But potato salad or rice, whatever makes you happy. Any other thing that you have at your convenience, you can make and put in the gumbo pot as an added ingredient of meat. Some people put oysters. I've seen it. I've seen boiled eggs. That's usually a little more Cajun country. I've seen boiled eggs in gumbo pots, but whatever makes you happy. I'm just not putting hot dogs in mine. So you can put it over rice. You can put it in a bowl and put a tablespoon scoop of potato salad in the middle. Mine will be with potato salad. That concludes all of my instruction around my gumbo, and it is all done and beautiful and bubbling. And the little white foam that you see from the top is from the seafood that's in the pot. There's nothing wrong with it. None of the seafood is bad, by the way. Everything was fresh. As fresh as snow crab can be straight from the store. But everything was from the store today. And everything was smelled and scrubbed and cleaned and whatnot. But if you ever see that, that's usually just the some of the nutrients cooking off of between the chicken and the seafood. You'll see the little bubbles. But all done. Bon appetit. Bon appetit.